We need a tab here.
Get off of Jackie's chair so I can see.
Okay, all right. Go ahead and turn me on, Trish. If everyone would please take their seats and log into the system, please, for voting and roll call. Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, February 19th, 2025. I hope everybody had a good, slick journey back into the Capitol and to the Cordell Hull building today. I hereby call the State and Local Government Committee to order. Madam Clerk, will you please open for the roll? Okay. Still waiting. Give them one more second, please. Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Chairman, you have 21 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for joining us today. Does any of the members have any announcements or personal orders? Representative Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I'm honored today to have my daughter in the audience. She's down with the Tennessee Blount County Partnership and the Blount Memorial Hospital Foundation. If you just wave.
Please stand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We are familiar with your mother and dad, and we don't hold it against you who your dad is. So thank you for being with us today. Does any of the other members have any announcements or personal orders? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and get started with our agenda today. We have 17 bills on the calendar. We will be moving some of those around, so please be patient. We have the B team in today. We're going to try our best to make sure everything runs smooth, but we're short on staff, and hopefully we can get through this without any problems. Members, without objection, item 1 is going to be rolled 4 spaces. Members, without objection, item 2 is going to be rolled 3 spaces. That brings us to item 3. Proper motion and second. We're talking about House Bill 56 by Leader Lamberth. Leader Lamberth, I see it has an amendment. Can you please give us your drafting code?
Well, Mr. Chairman, it wasn't my amendment. It was a subcommittee's amendment. So whichever amendment is traveling with the bill.
Okay, I have 3473. Is that what everybody else has? Okay, do I have a motion on the amendment? Proper motion and second on the amendment. I would like to go ahead and place the amendment on the bill so it can be discussed. All those in favor of amendment 3473 going on the bill to be discussed, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. If you'd like to be recorded as a no, please see the clerk. The amendment is on the bill, and Leader Lamberth, you're recognized on your amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As amendment, this just creates an opportunity for someone to be removed from an appointed position or from a county legislative body. If that county legislative body has appointed them to a particular committee or position, then they can pull that back. Now, we did, the subcommittee amended that to make that follow basically the same protocol on how they get appointed in a way that they can get removed.
Is there any discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none, I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor of House Bill 56 moving on to calendar and rules, please say aye. Oh, okay, we gotta do the roll call. Got to do the roll call. Madam Clerk, please open the board. for voting. Gotcha, right. Would any member like to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 21 aye, 0 nay.
This bill will move on to calendar and rules. Today, item number 4, House Bill 297 by Leader Lamberth. Proper motion and second. I do see we have an amendment. Would you please give us your drafting code, Leader?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I have two. One is 2893. I think that's the amendment he's going first.
Okay, all those without objection placing item drafting code 2893 on the bill for discussion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Bill's now amended with 2893. You're recognized on your amended bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I believe there's another amendment that is 2845. And I check with, if we can check with legal real quick and make sure either if 2845 was incorporated in 2893, then we won't need it, but it merely just changed it, deleted the language forest land in the mandatory section, in subsection 3, and substituted in this, the language open space land.
Okay, Leader Lamberth, I've checked here with staff and we do not have that amendment.
Then it was incorporated in, Mr. Chairman. Disregard.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, as amended, what this does, this was a simple but unfortunate circumstance that happened to one of my constituents. He unfortunately went through a divorce. They owned property in common that he had owned individually beforehand. It had been in the Greenbelt for decades. And for tax purposes, when it gets removed out of the Greenbelt, obviously you owe additional money, 3 years back or something of that nature. So when he went through a divorce, that property went from jointly owned by them to individually owned by him, and it automatically was removed out of the Greenbelt. This bill just says if it due to death or divorce, if somebody's land is owned in common between two parties, there's a death or divorce that occurs, and then it's just owned by one of those two parties afterwards, it wouldn't automatically come out of the Greenbelt. They could remove it themselves if they want to, but it wouldn't automatically come out.
You've heard the discussion on the bill. Is there any questions for the leader? Representative Mitchell, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want you clarified this in subcommittee, and I just think you probably won't say it in full. This legislation does not help that person you're speaking of. It's too late for them.
Leader Lamberth.
That's correct. Unfortunately, he's already had to write that check, but he brought it to my attention. And this does happen apparently a few hundred times a year throughout the state to other folks. Now, in his circumstance, he missed the notice. You know, he owns that. He wrote the check. I mean, he paid the back taxes, but it would keep it from not happening to somebody else.
Representative Warner. You're good. Question has been called on the bill. We're ready to vote on House Bill 297 as it is amended. Moving on to calendar and rules. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for voting? Would any member like to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the voting board. Cool.
Sorry, we're having technical difficulties.
We're having technical difficulties. Okay.
Did they reopen it?
Do, 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 do. Would everybody please recast their vote?
Okay.
Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please close the vote and announce the,
Mr. Chairman, you have 21 ayes, 0 nay.
House Bill 321, House Bill 297 will move on to calendar and rules. Next on our agenda is item 5, House Bill 321 by Leader Lamberth. Got a proper motion and second? Leader Lamberth, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may ask, they found a technical change. It's literally just a wording thing on section 9 needed to be removed from the bill. This opens up a great many portions of the code, but section 9 was inadvertently included, and I filed an amendment coded 3840. Mr. Chairman, I apologize. It was late filed with the committee, but I would ask if we could take that up, please, today. It literally just removed subsection 9. That was inadvertently included in the bill.
I have received the amendment 3840. It is signed. It is untimely, but I will entertain a motion or proper motion from Vice Chairman Wright. And I've got a proper second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to accept this untimely filed amendment to allow the Health Department to continue to operate as it is currently operating. This bill will have no effect upon them, so I move that we accept this untimely filed amendment.
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll do a voice vote on accepting the untimely filed amendment 3840. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The amendment is now on the bill. Leader Lamberth, you're recognized on your amended bill 321.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So look, this is a culmination of years of work and disdain for fax machines. So I don't know if any of y'all still own a fax machine or use it, but 1985 called, they want their technology back, okay? So some of y'all get that later, it's okay. But seriously, all this does is take out of the code. There are several references in the code that reference facsimile transmission within state government, within rules and procedures. Virtually nobody uses this anymore. It's electronic submission. In fact, here in the Court of the Whole building, when you send a fax or receive a fax, you'll get it in your email because it will be electronically transferred to you. Technology has just changed. Unfortunately, our code has not, and this would update it. I do want to thank legal services and apologize because if you look at the sections of code that this opens up and that they had to go through, it was a Herculean task. So again, my thanks to legal services and their hard work for doing that. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all it does. It just gets rid of fax machines in the code in regards to state government. We're not messing with private businesses.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Representative Butler, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a question for the sponsor. So this only requires that a department have one option to do things electronically. I think the Homeland Security does that for CDLs for your health card is uploaded electronically. So other than that, you're not really changing anything.
Leader Lamberth.
Yes, it requires them to have an electronic transmission option. They can have just one option. It can be a portal. It can be an email. It can be multiple if they'd like to, but it requires that they have just one way to electronically transmit these and that it not be fax machine.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Questions being called on the bill. We're ready to vote. All those in favor of House Bill 108, we will take a roll call vote on our electronic system. Madam Clerk, will you please open the voting board? Does any member like to change their vote? Seeing none, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 22 aye, 0 nay.
Bill moves on to calendar and rules. Next on the list is item number 2, House Bill 122 by Leader Lamberth. Proper motion and second. Looks like Representative Scarborough will be moving in for Leader Lamberth. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, this proposed legislation is going to rewrite TCA 43218 to allow collected fees to be used to operate, maintain, and improve the TACN system. Currently, these assessments are only for the use and maintenance of the system. the new fee or the new collection of fees would also allow for the improvement of the system.
All right, thank you for that explanation. We do have some people that have signed up to speak. If you still want to speak, I think I have on the list Elizabeth Stroker, Jeff Gray, or Casey Goggin. Does anyone like to speak? All right, we're good. We will move on. Is there any questions for the sponsor on House Bill 122? Previous question has been called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 122. Madam Clerk, will you please open the voting board? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 21 aye, 1 nay, and 0 present non-voting.
Bill moves on to government operations.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. House Bill 108 by Leader Lamberth. Is he still in here? We got Ashley. Representative Ashley will be stepping in for Leader Lamberth on House Bill 108. We got a proper motion and a second. Representative Ashley, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 108, proposed legislation would allow the state's flexibility in processing payroll for state employees in the executive branch on a semi-monthly or bi-weekly basis. Basically, what this bill is doing is taking away they're being paid right now to every other Friday.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor on House Bill 108. I do believe this is your very first bill in the House full committee. Is that correct, sir?
That's what I've been told.
Well, you know, I see you're sitting down there with a lot of people. Did you bring them for backup to help you pass this bill, or you're recognized?
They were wanting me to go first, but thanks to you, I didn't have to.
Well, if they tell you to do something, you better do it. We got Representative Bricken, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just kind of, for the record, when this bill came to my office and presented, I think for the public and everyone listening, the implementation of, I'm all for the every 2 weeks pay, but the implementation, they believe it's going to take 10 years to implement because it's going to redo the Edison system. So I just think, just want to be sure that, you know, this bill passes. It's not going to be next July. It's going to be a long time before this happens. And I just think everyone needs to be aware of it.
Representative Ashley, you have a response for that?
I think we have some people here from the Department of Finance that can explain that better than I can.
Oh, they're the one carrying the bill? I didn't. Okay, I need to change that on my notes. Representative McLaren, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, if it would please the committee, I think the sponsor of this bill needs to get with finance. So I move that we roll this bill 3 more spaces.
Without objection, we'll roll 3 spaces.
So he's coming right now.
We're at 6?
That's right.
All right. Item number 6 on today's agenda is House Bill 0422 by Leader Marsh. Mr. Speaker, you are recognized on your bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. This bill today was brought to us by the TWRA, and it clarifies that the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission has the authority to name real property and infrastructure under the jurisdiction of the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. And the jurisdiction means that they manage and own this property. By clarifying this authority, the commission and the agency may offer naming rights, opportunities to partner organizations and individuals aligned with the agency's mission and values. Examples of infrastructure that would benefit from potential funding and naming opportunities include shooting ranges, outreach and hunter education facilities, hatcheries, which produce 9 million fish annually and bolster sport fishing and tourism on Tennessee's lakes, and boat ramps, which are one of the most common requests TWRA receives for new infrastructure. If successful, this additional revenue source would advance the quality and efficiency of agency programs, help mitigate future increases in inflation and expenses, and reduce some of the financial burden on sportsmen and sportswomen who fund the agency through their licenses. With that, I'll take any questions.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsors. Representative Moon, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Speaker Marsh, could a boat ramp be named the Honorable John Crawford Boat Ramp in his district?
Speaker Marsh, you're recognized.
I'd say it certainly could, but I think it would cost a lot of money.
You're recognized, Chairman Moon.
Doing a little checking, I don't believe TWRA has a boat ramp in his district. It's controlled by TVA. So would that qualify or would it not qualify?
Speaker
I would
Marsh,
say-
you're recognized.
I would say if it's not under TWRA's purview, it could not be done. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will remember that. Let's see, Representative Warner, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, sponsor. So if I'm understanding right, if someone on one of these organizations wanted to have a boat ramp or something like that, hatchery or something named after them, they would pay TWRA money to have it done?
Speaker Marsh, you're recognized.
That's the way I understand it. It would be like naming rights at the football stadiums. They'd have to pay money to have their name on it, and they would use that money to further their mission.
Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Representative Dixon, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the money that they would collect for these naming fees, who would be in possession of those? Does it go to TWRA or where does it go?
Speaker Marsh.
The way I understand it, it would go to TWRA to help pay for their functions that they do, a lot of their expenses, and keep the hunting and fishing license lower.
Representative Dixie.
So currently, they don't have the ability to name those facilities or infrastructure or improvements? So what do they do that now, or is it just non-existent?
Speaker Marsh.
The way I understand it, they don't have the right to do it, and they don't do it. This would open it up where they can do it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Question's been called on the bill. We're ready to vote on House Bill 422. Madam Clerk, please open the vote for voting. Would any member like to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the vote and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 22 aye, 0 nay, and 0 present non-voting.
This bill 422 moves on to calendar and rules. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next item we have is item number 7. And it is House Bill 50 by Chairman Keisling. Got a proper motion in second? Chairman Keisling, you're recognized to talk about your bill, sir.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Yes, House Bill 50. This is a request coming at you from the city of Salina under resolution, in which I hope, Chairman, you do have a copy of. This will be resolution number 24006. Do you have that? Okay.
Let me check and see. Speaking with staff here, sir, we've not received that resolution.
Well, I'm sorry. I will know they had received it, subcommittee had in our private act sub. So,
Okay.
shall we can roll it if you want to roll it. It is time sensitive. We're trying to get it on the ballot.
Okay.
I'm very sorry.
That's okay. We'll figure out what's going on here. Legal is trying to find it. Representative Powers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yes, we did have, when it came through the Private Acts Committee, we did have the resolution at that point, and I just assumed that had been forwarded on through this committee. So it is on record of coming through there.
You've heard the explanation from the chairman of the Private Acts Committee that they do have this particular resolution, and I'm sure he will see that gets to my office and we'll have it on file. At this time, I'll recognize the legal team to give us a update.
Out of session.
Without objection, we'll go out of session.
Matt Mundy from legal. I just looked in the backup for the original bill, and we do have the resolution.
So we will proceed with, let's go back in session. We will proceed with this, with House Bill 50, and we will make sure that we get that resolution and we'll have it on file in the office for anybody to review. So without question, we will proceed with this particular bill. So question has been called on the bill. We're ready to vote on House Bill 50. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for voting? Does any member wish to change their vote? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 22 ayes, 0 nay, and 0 present non-voting.
Okay. House Bill 35 by Chairman Gary Hicks. Oh, I forgot to announce this. House Bill 50 moves on to calendar and rules. Thought I did it. House Bill 35, Chairman Hicks, you are recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Chairman, members. House Bill 35 provides for an increase in funding distributed to each of the 9 development districts. It also does a couple other things. It modernizes how the state appropriates money to the development districts. It cleans up a statute that basically removes a couple tiers that are no longer in use by any of the development districts. Also cleans up the statute further by eliminating specific references to the Memphis Area Association of Governments, as they've actually changed their name to Mid-South Development District. Also, finally, the last thing it does, the legislation updates the manner in which the state's allocation will be distributed to each development district to include a formula that is based on each district's contributions from local government's population and number of counties that they serve. With that, I'll answer any questions.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Is there any questions? Chairman Howe, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank Chairman Hicks for bringing this bill. In my part of the country, in Tennessee, the development district does an unbelievable job of helping the rural parts of Tennessee. They do things that the counties can't afford to do for themselves. They provide engineering, they provide planning, any number of services. They write grants, so they administer the grants. And without the services of the development district, the counties would really suffer. So I appreciate this bill and be glad to vote for it. Thank you.
Representative Mitchell. Question is being called on the bill. We're ready to vote on House Bill 35. Moving on to Finance, Ways and Means. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for voting? Would any member like to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the voting board and announce the results.
Mr. Chairman, you have 20 ayes, 0 nay, and 0 present non-voting.
Bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means. Thank you for being with us, Chairman. Representative Ashley, will you please take the podium? House Bill 108, Chairman Ashley is standing in for Leader Lamberth, and I think he has a few friends here helping him as well. We will recognize you once again on House Bill 108.
House Bill 108 just simply changes.
Representative Ashley, I didn't
I'm
recognize you.
sorry.
You're recognized. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just simply changes the way they're being paid every other Friday for executive employees only.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Is there any questions for the sponsor? Representative McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was brought to my attention that we missed one, and Representative Scarborough was that was his first bill. And however he got through there so quickly, I do not know, but he got lucky. To the sponsor, you said this it's every other Friday.
Representative Ashley, I didn't recognize you. You're recognized, sir.
Yes, every other Friday, twice a month.
Representative McClellan.
Thank you, Chairman. What if it's on a holiday?
Representative Ashton.
I have some people here that can answer that.
Representative Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can we roll this 3 spots so he can get the answer
Without
to that?
objection, we'll roll this 3 spots. Okay, where are we at? Item number 9 on today's calendar, House Bill 208 by my friend Representative Littleton. Got a proper motion and a proper second. Chairman Littleton will be presenting from the diocese without objection. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 208 designates the National Guard Armory in Cheatham County as the first Sergeant Charles Anderson Douglas National Guard Armory and directs the Department of the Military to erect the signage and markers designated the name, change using existing resources. And First Sergeant Douglas served as the first sergeant of the Ashland City Unit from 1986 until his retirement in 2003. First Sergeant Charles Anderson Douglas was a powerful advocate for the construction of the new National Guard Armory building in Cheatham County, as well as for the overall success of the local National Guard unit for many years.
Representative Moon, you're recognized for questions. Previous question's been called. Without objection, we will go ahead and vote on House Bill 208. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for voting? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the vote and announce the results.
Mr. Chairman, you have 21 ayes, 0 nay.
House Bill 208 will move on to Finance, Ways and Means. House Bill 0331 by Chairman Baum. Got a proper motion and a second. Chairman Baum, you are recognized on your bill, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Crawford. This bill will increase the cap in our Tennessee statutes, the maximum aggregate amount for outstanding principal on THA bonds and notes from $4 billion to $6 billion. THDA stands for the Tennessee Housing Development Authority. It is our state's housing authority, and it's one, every state has one, the federal government has one, FHA. And through our Great Choices program, the THDA helps lower income families and veterans purchase their first home. By raising this cap, the THDA will be able to continue this effort. Otherwise, they have reached the cap in statute and would otherwise be limited in loans that they could continue to make. Now, this sounds like a lot of money, so let me try and provide you with some reassurance. First of all, the THDA is a self-sustaining, self-sufficient agency, and these bonds and notes, the state has no moral obligation on them. The state is not liable for these bonds and notes. Number two, these loans issued by THDA are guaranteed by either private mortgage insurance or FHA. as a FHA through the Federal Housing Authority. We've also increased this cap several times. We've increased it 13 times since the 1970s. This would be a 14th time. So we do this periodically. The THDA's underwriting is more conservative than many other housing authorities. For example, they require a higher credit score and they require a lower debt to income ratio. And the THDA has had over 20 straight clean audits by our comptroller. So if by raising this cap, the THDA can continue to help lower income households purchase their first home. And it's possible that this bill may do more to help promote home ownership than any other bill we see this session.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions? Representative Mitchell, you're recognized. Question has been called on the bill. We're ready to vote on House Bill 331. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board? Might get used to this by the end of the year. I'm not sure. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 21 ayes, 0 nay.
This bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you. Thank you all.
House Bill 65 by Chairman Bolso. Got a proper motion and second. I do see that we have an amendment, Chairman Bolso. Can you please give us your drafting code?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, 003498.
That is correct. That's the number that we have. Do I have a motion on the amendment? Proper motion and second. Without objection, I will place this amendment on the bill to be discussed as it is. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Your bill is now amended. You're recognized on your amended bill, Chairman Bolso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the committee. This is a one-paragraph bill that does one thing. It allows our local governments across the state who operate under a city manager, city commission charter to enter into contracts, if they choose, with private actors for the development, construction, or operation of an indoor or outdoor athletic facility. We have 47 such local governments across the state that would benefit from this. So I stand ready for questions, Mr. Chairman.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions? Representative Powell, you're recognized.
Thank you to the sponsor. I think there's actually an indoor facility that I used to work out in your district all the time that they went away. And so now there's a shortage of workout facilities. A question, what would happen in a situation where, I guess, who would own the facility if they contracted with this entity, they constructed it, developed it, and then the terms of the deal fell apart? Who actually, at the end of the day, would then own that facility?
Chairman Bolso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Powell, that would depend entirely on the terms of the contract. Excuse me, the terms of the contract that the local government entered into with the private entity. So if there were, for example, a lease of the facility and it fell apart, the ownership would remain with the city. But if there were somehow a conveyance of the property at the end of a lease that were completed, then it would go in accordance with the terms of the contract.
Representative Powell?
Well, I was going to say, I appreciate the bill. I think there's still a need, and I see different recreational facilities that are needed in communities that continue to grow, mine being one of them. Although I'm not the situation when it applies to metropolitan government, of course. But, I think it's important to look at different options that can construct these facilities where people can go and enjoy. And, often I think having different options is a good solution to get that accomplished. Thanks.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, I think we're ready to vote on House Bill 65. Moving on to Finance, Ways and Means. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for voting? Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 19 ayes, 1 nay.
Bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means. Representative Ashley, will you please come back up to the podium? Representative Ashley, you're recognized on your bill, sir.
To answer the question, whether it's a holiday, the pay would still go in. This just gives them the flexibility to change it to bi-weekly is my understanding.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Chairman Howe, you're recognized for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was mentioned by a previous questioner that this could take up to 10 years to implement. And I think it'd be prudent for the committee to make sure that it's implemented properly, that we would request that the sponsor report back in 10 years to make sure it's adequately implemented.
Without objection, asking the sponsor to come back and talk about his bill in 10 years. 10 years, my friend. Okay, next on the list, Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, sponsor. I guess my question is kind of in relation to the chairman that just spoke there and the previous great representative from Coffee County. Will this actually take 10 years to implement this?
Representative Ashley.
I have no idea.
That's usually not very good when a sponsor can't answer the question. Anyway, Representative Powell, you're recognized.
Do you want to correct that, your last one?
Representative Ashley?
Well, hopefully not. It won't take that long, but it could take up to that, but hopefully it will not.
Representative Powell, you're recognized.
So actually today, as we know, is a half day for us. So what about the event of a snow day or a half day? If the Friday was a half day, how would that work?
Representative Ashley.
I don't think it would change any way that the pay
Very
goes
good.
in.
Next on the list is Representative McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, it was brought to my attention that Representative Ashley has 3 bills in this committee. I think that's a little overzealous for his first bill. I would move that we roll this bill to the Hill.
Proper motion and a second. We're voting on rolling this bill 3 spots. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bills move 3 spots. Okay, item number 12, House Bill 43 by Representative Parkinson. Proper motion and second. Representative Parkinson, you're recognized on your bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. We've all found ourselves in moments of seeking prayer, fervently seeking guidance and asking the Lord for direction. This is exactly where Speech, the lead singer of the Grammy-winning hip-hop group Arrested Development, found himself. Speech had recently suffered the loss of 2 loved ones, his grandmother, who was from Tennessee, and just 1 week after her burial, his older brother. Overcome with grief, he turned to God in prayer, asking for comfort and direction. The Lord answered. In that moment, the song Tennessee was divinely inspired, downloaded into his spirit. It took him only an hour to write it once he received it. The song Tennessee is, at its core, a prayer. And if you listen closely, the verse begins with, Lord, I've really been real stressed, while the pre-chorus delivers God's response. He guided me to Tennessee. He guided me to my roots. He guided me to my family tree. This wasn't just lyrical storytelling. It was a real life spiritual journey. As a child, Speech spent all of his summers in West Tennessee, in the Ripley and Dyersburg area, both of which are mentioned in the song. When he sought answers from God, he was led back to his roots in Tennessee, where he found the clarity he needed. More than just a song, Tennessee serves as a roadmap to finding answers through faith and prayer. When it was released over 30 years ago, Tennessee was a breath of fresh air in the music industry. At a time when many mainstream songs were dominated by themes of sex, drugs, alcohol, Tennessee offered something totally different. It carried no explicit content, only a powerful, uplifting message that all people of all ages could listen to and find inspiration in. Its impact was undeniable. Tennessee became one of the biggest songs of that year, reaching #1 on the Billboard charts and earning a Grammy Award. Arrested Development as a group also won a Grammy Award and has since been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Even today, samples of the songs are used at University of Tennessee football games and basketball games, proving its lasting influence. Passing this bill to designate Tennessee as an official state song would be an historic moment. While the song doesn't fit the traditional mode of hip hop, its verses carry a melodic, preacher-like cadence. It would be the first hip hop song ever adopted as a state song in the entire country. By embracing Tennessee in this way, our state would make history, drawing a positive national and global attention to our state. Entertainment and media outlets worldwide would shine the spotlight on Tennessee, celebrating its rich musical heritage and its embrace of a genre that has shaped generations. This is an exciting and defining opportunity for us, one that will be remembered for years to come. With the name of our state being mentioned over 15 times in this 3-minute song, it's a great 3 minutes of positive branding for our state. Let's take this step forward and make Tennessee by Arrested Development an official state song of the greatest state in the Union, Tennessee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, you've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 43. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for voting? Has everyone voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 aye and 11 nay.
Where are we at? I'm sorry, Representative Parkinson, bill fails. Item number 13, House Bill 136 by Representative Ashley. Proper motion and second. Representative Ashley, you're recognized on your bill. 136.
You say 132?
136, sir.
136, okay, just making sure.
What's call question?
Mr. Chairman, this bill makes government work better by streamlining reporting requirements for local government debt and removing outdated provisions from state law. Currently, local governments with publicly traded debt are required to report monetary defaults to the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, but do not have to notify the Comptroller of the Treasury. The Comptroller of the Treasury must manually check the MSRB website for defaults, which puts a strain on the Comptroller's office. This bill requires all local governments, regardless whether they have publicly traded debt, to report defaults, covenant violations, and credit rating reductions to the Comptroller's office.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Representative Butler, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move previous question.
Previous question's been called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 136. Moving on to calendar and rules. Madam Clerk, please open the roll for the board for voting. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 21 aye, 0 nay.
Bill moves on to calendar and rules. House Bill 35 by Representative Ashley. Your proper motion and second. You're recognized on your bill, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a HJR 35.
It simply recognizes emergency dispatchers as first responders.
Representative McClellan for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And sponsor, in all seriousness, I do want to commend you for bringing this bill. This is a good bill. It had occurred to me, and we think about our EMTs, we think about our firemen and our police officers, but the trauma that our emergency dispatchers are dealing with sometimes here in people's last moments. So thank you for bringing this. It's a good bill, and I look forward to co-sponsoring this with you. It's a good bill. So thank you.
Chairman Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to know if Representative Scarborough could come up and stand beside him and take a couple of questions.
Without objection, we will allow Representative Scarborough up to the diocese. Representative Scarborough, I believe Chairman Littleton has some questions for you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this your first bill or time, or your second time to be here in our committee today?
Representative
But
Scarborough.
your first time to be here.
It's my first time in front of this panel. Last week, I actually was here for UT as well, kind of give an endorsement there for our program.
Chairman Littleton.
So what was that program about?
Last week?
Representative Ashley, wait till I recognize you, sir. I mean, Scarborough. I've kind of got used to saying that. So Representative Scarborough, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. University of Tennessee's Institute of Public Service.
Chairman Littleton.
Did you go to the UT University?
Representative Scarborough, please wait till I recognize you.
Exactly right.
You're recognized, sir.
I did not.
Chairman Littleton.
You were just there to support them? UT?
Representative Scarborough.
Yes, ma'am. I actually work there currently.
Chairman Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions for Representative Scarborough? Seeing none, you may take your seat, sir. Representative Ashley, do you have anything to add to this conversation?
No, sir.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor on this particular bill, House Bill 35. Any other questions for him? Question has been called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 35. Moving on to calendar and rules. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for voting? Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Seeing none, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 21 aye, 0 nay.
Bill moves on to calendar and rules. Representative Ashley, will you please come back to the podium? We're back on House Bill 108. I don't know if it's ever going to get through, but we'll continue to try. You're recognized on your bill, sir. Got a proper motion. Is there a second? Second. Chairman Rudd, you're recognized for question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Call the question.
Question has been called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 108. Moving on to calendar and rules. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for voting?
Had a lot of fun.
Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 22 aye, 0 nay.
Bill moves on to calendar and rules. Congratulations, sir. Our next bill is House Bill 185, and I do believe I see some knees knocking there. A little scared on this. Got a proper motion in second on this bill. Representative Jones, is this your first bill in our full committee?
Yes, Chairman.
Are you a little nervous, maybe?
A little bit.
Okay. You're recognized on House Bill 185.
So this bill is a comptroller bill, and it makes government work better by allowing small municipalities to waive the requirement that certified municipal finance officers work 16 hours per month upon approval of the Comptroller of Treasury. Current law requires that contracted CMFOs to devote a minimum of 16 hours per month to financial oversight on behalf of municipality. So what this bill would do would allow the comptroller to approve fewer service hours for contracted CMFOs in small municipalities that have minimal financial activities. So it would allow the municipalities the need to allow them to pay for, to have the oversight they need, but not to pay for more than necessary.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. I do have several people down on the list to speak. Does any of the comptrollers wish to speak? Anybody from the comptroller's office? Seeing none, we'll bypass that committee. It is open floor for discussion. Representative Butler, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Seeing that she is nervous, I make a motion that we roll her to the heel of the calendar.
Without objection, we will roll this bill to the end of the calendar. House Bill 618 by Vice Chairman Wright. Vice Chairman Wright, you are recognized with a proper motion in second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill, reading from the bill, prohibits an individual holding an elected office of the local government from holding another elected office in this state at the same time. There's also a grandfather clause. If someone were to be holding two elected offices currently, they would be allowed to continue to serve. And this does not affect political parties' state executive committees. And with that, I'm seated for a question.
Any questions for the sponsor? Representative Kalman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Move previous question.
Previous question's been called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 618. Moving on to calendar and rules. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for voting? Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 22 ayes, 0 nay.
Bill moves on to calendar and rules. And number 17, House Bill 57 by Chairman Moon. We got a proper motion and a second on this bill. Chairman Moon, you're recognized on House Bill 57 from the diocese.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. This bill comes from the Comptroller of Treasury of Tennessee. Current law is that if a municipality has not filed their audit, their annual audit, their budget can't be approved, therefore they cannot issue any debt. Well, that hasn't worked for 7 municipalities. They actually have audits that are 4 years or past due. So what this bill proposes is the comptroller, in consultation with the Commissioner of Revenue, can withhold in escrow from 0 to 15% of their state shared sales tax. And I believe this is a necessary piece of legislation. I'm seated for questions, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for the sponsor? Representative Bricken?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When the comptroller's staff came to my office and explained this bill, and certainly I'm certainly for it, but it was shocking to learn that we have 7 municipalities that might have 4 years or longer. And I certainly suggested to them that we need legislation that gives them the authority for the comptroller's office to go in and conduct the audit themselves, rather than put just a penalty and then charge the municipality for that audit. And so I think they kind of like the idea. So down the road, hopefully we're going to skin this cat another way. So just want to pass that on.
Chairman Moon, do you have a response?
No, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your comments, sir.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Previous questions been called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 57, moving on to calendar and rules. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for voting? Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 22 aye, 0 nay.
Bill moves on to calendar and rules. We're back to item number 15, House Bill 185 by Representative Jones. Representative Jones, you are recognized on your comptroller bill.
So again, it would allow municipalities the ability to have the oversight they need while not paying for more than necessary. With that, I renew my motion.
Any questions for the sponsor? Representative Bricken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you know how long the 16-hour rule has been in place?
Representative Jones.
So it's been a while.
Representative Bricken.
No, I understand that the comptroller put this rule in place, and I'm not sure how many years ago. So they're coming back requesting to modify it. So, but I think it's kind of important to know the history of changes. So as you carry this bill further, I think questions like that probably you should have knowledge of. Anyway, thank you.
You're welcome. Representative Martin.
Representative Jones, thank you for this well-crafted piece of legislation that you've worked diligently on. I was curious, though, did you put 16 hours into working this bill and writing it, or was it less than 16?
It was less than 16.
Representative Jones, wait till I recognize you, please.
Sorry.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Less than 16.
I'll tell you what.
Representative Martin.
I'll tell you, Representative Jones, the people have to be so proud back home that you could put this well-crafted piece of legislation together in record time. Congratulations.
Representative Jones.
Thank you, Representative Martin.
Representative McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, you made a comment a little while ago about not paying more than necessary. How would you define more than necessary?
Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it is $140 an hour for a CMFO that these municipalities have to pay. So if they're not using them, if they're not using them the full 16 hours in a month, then it would be the difference in the use and what they would have to, the requirement would require.
Representative McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, considering we have no more bills left on the calendar to roll you to, should this bill, I don't believe there's a fiscal note, so should this bill survive this committee, I believe it's straight on the calendar rules. Don't quote me on that, but have fun.
Representative Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Jones, this will not require members of the legislature to work 16 hours a month either, will it?
Representative Jones.
No, sir.
Oh, thank you. Then I can support your bill.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 185, moving on to calendar and rules. Madam Clerk, please open the board for voting. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the vote. Close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 22 aye, 0 nay.
Bills moves on to calendar and rule.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
That concludes today's business. Before we close, does any members have announcements or personal orders? Seeing none, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Got a proper motion and second. All in favor, adjourn? We're adjourned.